This is the oldest temple unearthed anywhere on this planet.
Well, the sight of Göbekli Tepe really did send shockwaves through the whole world of early prehistory, because we'd never before known or imagined.
The AI was supposed to confirm what archaeologists had believed for decades. Instead, it found tool marks that cannot exist, geometric precision that predates mathematics by 8,000 years, and heat signatures that would require technology we did not invent until the modern era. When the analysis finished, one researcher turned to her team and said, "Run it again." They ran it 3 more times. The results never changed. What an artificial intelligence discovered hidden in the surface of 12,000-year-old stone pillars has forced scientists to confront a terrifying possibility: that everything we were taught about ancient humans is wrong, and someone, somewhere, has known the truth all along. Deep in southeastern Turkey, hidden among barren hills that farmers had walked past for generations without a second glance,
discovered was mind-blowing. After discovering the first T-shaped pillar buried at the site, he soon found more of these massive structures.
there is a site that breaks every rule archaeologists thought they understood. It is called Gobekli Tepe, which translates to Potbelly Hill in Turkish. For thousands of years, locals assumed it was just a natural formation. They had no idea what was buried beneath their feet. Most people assume civilization started with Egypt or Mesopotamia. But here is the catch. This place is twice as old as the oldest pyramid ever constructed. It was built around 9,600 BCE. That makes it over 11,600 years old. Think about that for a second. When workers began dragging the first stones into position at Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe had already been buried underground for nearly 5,000 years. It was ancient history to people we consider ancient. The pharaohs who built the Great Pyramid would have looked at Göbekli Tepe the same way we look at them today, as a relic from an impossibly distant past. The builders had no metal, no wheels, no writing, no domesticated animals. According to every textbook ever written, these were simple hunter-gatherers struggling to survive. People who spent every waking hour searching for their next meal. And yet, they constructed a megalithic complex covering an area the size of 20 football fields. The site contains at least 20 circular enclosures filled with massive T-shaped pillars. These are not rough boulders. They are precision-carved monoliths standing up to 18 feet tall, 50 tons, 3 school buses, carved from solid bedrock, transported uphill by people with stone tools. And get this, the stones were not found on top of the hill. The builders quarried them from the bedrock at the bottom of the slope and dragged them to the summit. Dr. Marcus Webb, a structural engineer who spent 15 years analyzing ancient construction methods, ran the calculations on what this would require. He stared at his results for a full minute before speaking. Moving a single 50-ton block up that gradient today would require industrial cranes, flatbed trucks, and a team of specialists working for days. These ancient people supposedly did it with rope made from plant fibers and bare hands, hundreds of times, without a single, failed attempt left behind as evidence. Every pillar is covered in carvings of dangerous animals. Lions with visible rib cages, snarling foxes with bared teeth, scorpions with raised stingers, vultures with outstretched wings. These images are carved in high relief, meaning the artists removed all the surrounding stone so the figures project outward from the surface. This is not scratching pictures into rock. This is sculpture. One mistake, one slip of the hand, and months of painstaking work would be destroyed. They accomplished this on one of the hardest limestone varieties on Earth, using nothing but other rocks as tools. The official story says hunter-gatherers built this between hunting trips. But it is not that simple, though. Hunter-gatherers do not generate surplus food. They cannot feed teams of specialized craftsmen for years on end. They lack the social organization to coordinate thousands of workers on a single project. Dr. Webb put it bluntly. The logistics alone would require centralized leadership, massive food storage, and long-term strategic planning, none of which supposedly existed yet. But the construction methods were disturbing enough. What they did to the site afterward is what keeps researchers awake at night. Around 8,000 BCE, the people using this temple did something inexplicable. They did not abandon it. They did not let nature slowly reclaim it over centuries. They buried the entire complex under thousands of tons of earth and rubble. They created an artificial mountain to hide their greatest achievement from the world. It stayed sealed for 10,000 years until a farmer's plow struck one of the buried stones in 1994. Why would any civilization spend generations building the most sophisticated temple on the planet, only to deliberately bury it in dirt? That question haunted the field for decades. Then, in 2025, a research team called the Göbekli Tepe Analysis Project decided to throw cutting-edge technology at the mystery. They deployed 3D laser scanners capable of detecting surface details smaller than a human hair. They captured multispectral images of every carved surface. Then they fed everything into an artificial intelligence system, specifically trained to find patterns invisible to human perception. The room went quiet when Dr. Elena Vasquez pulled up the geometric analysis. The AI examined the placement of the central pillars in the 3 oldest enclosures. When you connect their center points, they form a perfect equilateral triangle. The measurements are accurate to within a fraction of an inch across hundreds of feet of uneven, rocky terrain. Dr. James Okonkwo, the team's mathematician, went pale when he reviewed the data. Creating this level of precision requires advanced geometry. It requires standardized units of measurement. It requires the ability to calculate distances across irregular ground with extreme accuracy. Basically, it requires mathematical knowledge we associate with Greek scholars who lived 8,000 years later. These builders had no rulers, no written numbers, no documented system of measurement that we have ever found. Yet the AI confirmed the geometry was absolutely intentional. The probability of this precise pattern occurring by random chance is less than 1 in 50,000. But here's the deal. The geometry was just the beginning. The computer analyzed the tool marks preserved on the stone surfaces. For generations, experts assumed the pillars were shaped by pecking, a slow and laborious process of striking stone with stone until the desired shape gradually emerges. The AI found something completely different. Along the pillar edges, the scanner detected perfectly linear cuts extending over 3 feet in length. These cuts are roughly 1/10 of an inch wide, ruler straight, glass smooth, machined to a level of precision that seemed impossible. The AI found no match. None. In a database of every known ancient tool signature from sites around the world. Stone tools leave jagged, irregular marks. Copper tools, which would not exist for another 5,000 years, leave different patterns entirely. Dr. Vasquez compared the Gobekli Tepe cuts against modern machine signatures. The correlation was uncomfortably high. One team member later said she felt like she was looking at evidence that should not exist in our version of history. There is no trace of metal at the site, no bronze, no copper fragments, no iron oxide staining in the surrounding soil. If the builders had used metal tools, chemical traces would be permanently embedded in the limestone. The stones are completely clean. This creates an impossible situation. The tool marks demand a technology that somehow left no physical evidence behind. Then the thermal imaging data came in, and the impossible became terrifying. The AI detected heat signatures deep within the limestone structure. Dr. Nina Sorokin, a materials scientist consulting on the project, physically stepped back from her monitor when she saw the readings. The crystalline structure of the bedrock showed clear exposure to temperatures between 750 and 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. Alongside the heat damage, there was unmistakable evidence of rapid cooling, cold water thrown onto superheated stone. This is called thermal shock fracturing. When you heat rock and cool it instantly, it cracks along predictable lines. Ancient peoples in other parts of the world used primitive versions of this technique thousands of years later. But controlling this process precisely enough to extract a 50-ton pillar without shattering the entire block into useless rubble requires intimate knowledge of the stone's internal structure. It requires precise temperature control. It requires an advanced understanding of physics and material science. It requires knowing exactly where to apply heat and exactly when to apply water. The margin for error is essentially zero. And get this, the heat signatures were not limited to the quarries where the stones were cut. The finished pillars themselves show clear evidence of heat treatment. Some of the intricate animal carvings appear to have been smoothed and polished using sustained high temperatures, creating a glass-like surface finish that survives to this day. Modern stonemasons achieve this effect with diamond grinders and specialized equipment. The idea that Ice Age humans possessed an equivalent method challenges everything we thought we knew. Here's the part that truly disturbed the research team. When humans develop new technologies, they leave behind abundant evidence of failure, broken prototypes, cracked attempts, gradual improvements over many generations. At Göbekli Tepe, the oldest structures are the most sophisticated. The earliest pillars are the largest, the most precisely carved, and the most geometrically accurate. There is no learning curve visible anywhere at the site. It is as if the builders arrived on day one already possessing complete mastery of techniques that should have taken centuries to develop through trial and error. This was not the birth of a tradition. It was the final, perfected expression of knowledge accumulated over millennia that we know absolutely nothing about. If you're as disturbed by this evidence as the researchers who found it, hit that subscribe button. We're digging into mysteries that mainstream archaeology refuses to touch. Why would anyone bury their greatest achievement? The answer may be more terrifying than the mystery itself. The AI analyzed the burial fill and found something chilling. The dirt was not local soil. It was transported from locations miles away. Over 10 million cubic feet of material in total, enough to fill the Empire State Building multiple times over. Thousands of workers would have been required to move this much earth by hand. But the layering pattern showed the burial happened fast, not decades, not centuries. The team estimates the site was completely sealed in, a matter of years, possibly even less. This was not gradual abandonment. This was a desperate race against time. Something scared them badly enough to destroy their own masterpiece. Within the fill, archaeologists discovered intentionally destroyed artifacts. Stone statues violently smashed and placed face down in the dirt. Human skulls carved with deep ritual grooves. Dr. Rachel Thornton, an anthropologist specializing in ritual termination practices, called it a funeral for an entire civilization. Let that sink in. These people did not simply walk away. They performed a deliberate ritual execution of their own sacred space, destroying their own artwork and sealing it away from the world forever. Some researchers now connect the burial to a catastrophic event called the Younger Dryas Impact. Around 12,800 years ago, evidence from ice cores, soil samples, and geological records suggests comet fragments struck Earth, triggering massive wildfires across multiple continents, catastrophic flooding on a biblical scale, and a sudden return to brutal ice age conditions lasting over 1,000 years. Entire species went extinct almost overnight. Human populations collapsed. If the builders witnessed their world ending in fire and ice, burying their most sacred site makes terrible sense. They were creating a time capsule, a message in a bottle thrown across 10,000 years of human history, preserving their greatest work for a future generation they would never live to see. They sealed it tight and hoped someone worthy would eventually find it. Some researchers are now asking an even darker question. If someone possessed this level of technology 12,000 years ago, and deliberately buried it before a global catastrophe struck, did they know it was coming? Were they trying to preserve crucial knowledge for survivors? And if so, what else did they bury that we have not found yet? 10,000 years later, we finally dug it up, and the AI has shown us evidence that does not fit the story we have told ourselves for centuries. Tool marks with no explanation, geometry that predates mathematics, heat signatures that demand technology we cannot identify, and a burial conducted with desperate urgency, as if the builders knew their time was running out. Our ancestors were not primitive cave dwellers stumbling blindly towards civilization through random accidents and lucky discoveries. They possessed engineering capabilities we cannot explain, and then they vanished completely, leaving behind only silent stones and impossible questions. What else have we been wrong about? What else is still buried beneath our feet, waiting for someone brave enough to dig it up? What do you think is really hiding beneath Göbekli Tepe? What secrets are still waiting to be uncovered? Drop your theories in the comments below. If this changed how you see human history, smash that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started.